Hey, my name is Smar and I also go by Sam or First Time Panner. Any of those that you want to call me, you can. Happy February. This will be the first update for my No Pan Left Behind project for 2024. And in this update, I'll be talking about all of the palettes that I used in January and whether or not sorry, I can't speak apparently. It's pretty late, but I need to film this because it's supposed to go up today. But anyway, I'll be talking about all the palettes that I used in January and whether or not I hit my No Pan Left Behind goal on them. And then I'll also be introducing the palettes that I'll be using for February. Without further ado, I'll get started. And if you remember last time, I had 5 palettes that I wanted to use in January, and that was Melt Mary Jane, Dose of Colors Pretty Cool, Pat McGrath Labs, Interstellar Icon. I have 2 Pat McGrath quads, so I always get them mixed up. And it was also Natasha Denona Mini Star and Kaja Forest Night. I also get this mixed up with my Lorac Fairy Tale Forest palette, especially since, spoiler, that's one of the palettes for February, so I'm looking right at it. I tried to take as many pictures throughout the month of not just the eyeshadow looks that I did in this project, but of pretty much every eyeshadow look that I did this entire month, minus while I was on vacation in like the first few days of January, but I wasn't using these palettes anyway. But I tried to take as many pictures as possible, so if I have the pictures and I remember like whether or not they were, sorry, the honk distracted me, whether or not they were from this project, I will post them, and yeah, that's kind of it. So I will start with actually what I'm wearing right now because it is one of these palettes. Every single shade that I'm wearing comes from the Melt Mary Jane palette. I should have taken these out of the packaging before I started the video. One moment. Anyway, here's the palette. I'm holding the packaging over the mirror so it doesn't blind you. But on my eyes right now, I am wearing the shade Gaspar here, which is the first matte shade. It's like an olive tone brown all over my eye. And then I'm wearing this first metallic Sweet Lucy, just kind of like all over my lid. And this is my favorite eye look to do with this palette ever. It's the first the first time I had this palette, because this one was like a new one. When I first got the Mary Jane palette, that was the first look I did with this palette because I love these 2 colors. I love green tones, as you can see. So yeah, I love doing this look, and I just made it to get it into this project on time with this look. It's kind of ironic that this was the last look I did, but here we are. And as I said, yes, I have completed this palette, so I've used every shade in here. And I'll post a picture of what this look looks like so you can see it a little bit better. I also actually have a tiny bit of this very dark brown Sinsemia in my outer corners, so that's that. And then I've done tons of other looks with this palette. Hopefully I'll have them on the screen as I'm talking now. And I really loved using this palette. As I mentioned in the intro, I'm sure because I talk about this all the time, this palette is my favorite winter palette. It is so beautiful and like such good quality. It is difficult to work with, I will admit, because the 2 glitter shades that are on the very ends, of course they're pressed glitters, so they're difficult. And then there's also a lot of fallout with this palette, and the colors can be quite dark if you have a lighter skin tone. I don't though, so I don't have a problem with it. But it's such good quality, and the colors are beautiful, and they work so well together, and it has like some of my favorite shades in my entire collection, i.e. the one that I'm wearing right now. So yeah, I love this palette, and I'm so glad I got to use it. Even though I've used this palette, as far as like the Mary Jane palette, many times, I had never used this new palette that I bought, so I'm glad I got to break it in and use it while it was winter. So yeah, I'm very pleased with this. The next palette is my Pretty Cool palette from Dose of Colors. Again, here's what it looks like, and this was just an all matte palette, so I did pair it with something. I think every time I use this palette, it's really still really great quality, going on 2 years now. The formula hasn't changed at all, and I love the tones. They're just so pretty, and I think like for cool tones, they flatter my skin tone very well because, well, maybe I'm biased because they're like purple based cool tone browns, and I love purple, so it kind of just worked for me and my preferences. But I had a really good time with this palette, and I'm so glad I got to pick it up again in the season that I want to be using it. Next, I'll talk about my Pat palette. This is just really beautiful. Like, look at it. I mean, I'm sure you've seen swatches of this so many times. There's no denying that this is a stunning palette. So I'll throw up the looks that I did with this if I can find them. And yeah, I just had tons of fun with this. This is definitely not a palette that I would create a look with just this palette, but this is like pretty much my favorite companion palette as far as like cool or like winter tones. I only used each of these once with the what's it called? I cannot find my words. With the Mary Jane and the Pretty Cool, I did use a few shades in there twice. With this one, I only used each one of these ones because these are pretty much statement colors. And like, I didn't really need to do the exact same look twice. So I only used each of these once, but each time I used these, it was like just a really beautiful look. This is just a palette that should not be neglected. It's not only a beautiful and well done palette, but it was expensive, so I need to be using it. Next, I'll talk about my Kaja Bento, and this is in Forest Night. So I'll show you what it looks like again, if I can get this open. So here's the first shade, here's the second shade, and here's the third shade. I used all of these in the same one look, and I just exclusively used these shades when I did that look. I'll post a picture of it on the screen. I know exactly which one it was. I went to Red Lobster while I was wearing this, so it's very memorable for me. But yeah, I do really like this. I will say, if I'm being completely honest, I don't think I was as wowed as I expected to be. That being said, I still really love this. Like, the look I did was beautiful, and it's not bad quality at all, but I was just, in my mind, I was kind of expecting the quality. I don't know why. I was expecting like the quality and impact of the Melt palette, and kind of like this, like for like this first shade and then the middle shade, I was kind of expecting like some type of indie type shadow. So this is definitely not a bad palette. I'm still glad I have it. I would not exchange or return it or anything, and I think it's lovely. I just think it's not like, I had a 10 out of 10 in my mind when I thought of this, and it was just, I would say this is like an 8. So it's still really good, but it's just not like the 10 out of 10 like this palette is for me personally. The last palette I'll talk about is my Mini Star from Natasha Denona. I've gone over this, my thoughts on it, and I said in my introduction that I was kind of using this or putting it in first so I could see whether or not I like this enough to keep it, because I am on the fence with this palette. I've sworn off Natasha Denona in general because her and her brand are just not good in general. Not gonna get too much into it because it's already a long video, but here is the palette. And oh, if I didn't say, by the way, I hit my goal on this and every palette, so I did use every shade in every palette, and I hit my January goal. Anyway, I'm not very good at updates, am I? Yeah, I still am on the fence with this palette because pretty much everything that I said in my introduction about this palette stands, where the blue-brown in this palette is not impactful enough to be considered something that I really want to keep and love, because I have others that are better. Both of the mattes in this palette just do not perform well, and that is not unique to Natasha Denona. All of her neutral mattes, pretty much any of her mattes, like not the cream to powders because the cream to powders are good. Any of her matte shadows I've noticed just do not perform well, especially the neutral ones, especially the dark browns. Like the lighter brown or like lighter neutral mattes don't show up true to tone, and the darker neutral mattes like this dark brown, first of all, are patchy. They don't build up and they fade away pretty much as soon as you put them on the eyes. So yeah, that's already 3 out of the 5 shades in this palette. And then I also feel like when I there's a jet. When I did my first look with this, I used the 2 mattes and the shimmer in the center, and while it was pretty, I was like, this is kind of just like a basic look, and I didn't have it on long enough to even see if like the mattes were performing well anyway. The one look that I did that I really liked with this palette was when I used this like green leaning gold shimmer or metallic on like all over my lid, and then I paired it with, I think I paired it with one of the colors in my Pretty Cool palette, and it created this really beautiful like almost olive green looking type of shade on my eyes. So that was really pretty, but I had to reach into another palette just to create that look. And if there's only one shade in this palette that I really like that I also probably have somewhere else, I'm not sure if this palette is worth keeping. I'm not gonna get rid of it yet. I don't like hate it enough to get rid of it, but yeah, this is like still a disappointment to me, but at least I hit my goal on it. And now that that's done, it is time to introduce the palettes that I'll be wearing or attempting to use No Pan Left Behind style in February, and in no particular order. Sorry, my pinky just cracked like it always does. I have 4 palettes this month instead of 5 because a majority of these palettes are larger. And the first one that I'm bringing in is, you know, a Valentine's Day classic, ABH Norvina. This is well, actually I do have another ABH palette. It's actually another Norvina. It's a Norvina Pro palette. I think it's volume 5, the all purple one, of course. I've never used it though. So anyway, this is the only ABH palette I ever thought until the other one that was worth buying. It's just a really beautiful palette. I'll show it to you, even though I know you've seen it before 10,000 times. So here's what it looks like. Isn't this just perfect for Valentine's Day? And it even has a shade called Love, which is probably my least favorite shade in the palette, but I'm still gonna wear it because I kind of have to in this project, and Valentine's Day is coming up, so I'll probably do a few Valentine's Day looks since I have a few different ideas that I'm thinking of. I don't even celebrate Valentine's Day, and I never have, but I always like to do Valentine's Day makeup. So yeah, I have a few different Valentine's Day eyeshadow looks in mind, and using Love is in one of those ideas. So you'll definitely see pictures of my Valentine's Day looks in my next update. And I'm really excited to use this. I was actually swatching this, I think it was yesterday, because do you ever like sometimes get this urge where you want to just swatch out a bunch of eyeshadows? I, for some reason, wanted to swatch out every purple eyeshadow that I had. So I took this palette out, and as I was swatching it, I just remembered how beautiful these shades are. And my palette is, I got this in like December or November of 2021, so mine is just a little over 2 years old, so it might not be at the tippity top quality that it once was, but it's still performing well according to the swatches of the shimmers. Well, actually no, I swatched a shimmer, a matte, and a satin, so, or 2 shimmers, a matte, and a satin. So yeah, I think everything in here should be good, and I'm really excited to use it because I use this a bunch when I first got it, and then I didn't use it since. So I haven't used this since I think beginning of 2022, which is a crying shame. I haven't used this in 2 years and I want to use it because I love it so much, and this is discontinued. You cannot get it anymore. I know ABH shadows go bad after a few years, so I really need to use this. Also, just a note, this has been the palette that I've been considering panning for like the last 2 years. This was almost my pan that palette for 2024 until I decided not to do one, and this was almost my pan that palette for 2023, and then I decided to do my ambiance and then the Blues Beauty for Better Together. So this has nearly been my pan that palette twice now. So yeah, I need to use it. In a similar vein, I have another purple palette, but these are different purple undertones. So whatever, this is the Sephora Disco Diva palette. This is from the same playlist line as Blues Beauty. It's just a monochromatic palette, really. Has all purples and like a few like brown tones, but everything else in here is purple, and they're really beautiful. I think every single shadow in here has a different undertone, which is really cool, and it's just a fun palette. But I've literally only used this once when I first got it, and that was sometime I think in the beginning of 2023. I'm excited to use this one, and I know it won't take me too long. There's only 7 shades in here. My next palette is brand spanking new. It's my Melt Cosmetics Brunette palette, or Brunet. I honestly don't know, but I'm assuming it's brunette anyway. I bought this in December of last year, so it's only been a month since I've had it, which is pretty good of me for using it a month after buying it, because I feel like this past year I haven't been using my eyeshadows right when I get them. So even though there's 8 eyeshadows in here, I feel like it would only take me like 2 uses to use everything in here. I have already planned my looks that I'm doing with this palette because I'm a big nerd. But I'm really excited to use this. I don't think I've even swatched these shadows, but I'm assuming that it's the same classic melt quality. I mean the good quality, because I've heard sometimes melt doesn't have great quality, but I've tried and loved She's in Parties and Mary Jane, so I'm sure I will love this one because it had the better reviews out of all their palettes. Here's a closer look at the shades, by the way. I kind of have them over here where there's a shadow, but yeah, really beautiful tones, and I think these will be great for winter. This could also be potentially an autumn palette, but I want to use these in winter. My final palette is the biggest one that I'm putting in this month, and that is my Lorac Fairy Tale Forest. Here's what it looks like. It folds out, so like it has a bunch of different parts, because you can pop out the shades. There's a little like pin. Anyway, that's not the point. I don't know why I'm talking about that. Here's what the palette looks like. This palette, even though I haven't used it a trillion times, it is very well loved. This is my go-to girls night out palette. Don't ask me why. I've mentioned this in other videos, but basically whenever I've had like a girls night, I've used this palette. Which is not a lot, but it's enough times where I feel like this has a special place in my heart, and I feel like I've used it quite a bit. I know I'll be able to use this no problem, but I am really excited to put this in this month because despite my usage, I still have not used every shade in this palette. Like, I haven't even used the blue, and that's like the standout shade in the palette. So I really need to get a move on with this palette, and I'm really excited. This is another one where I'm planning on doing a Valentine's Day look with this palette. Not only does it have this beautiful pink that really reflects the light, my go-to look with this palette is a purple look. Surprise, surprise. So this is just gonna be the month of purples. But yeah, I always do, what is it? I took out the card, I guess, that had the shade names. I don't know why I did that. But I always do this, yeah, this purple matte all over my lid, or all over my entire eye, this dark purple matte in my outer corner, and then this purple metallic on my lid. That's my go-to look with this palette, and it's a winner every time. I also sometimes I lost this pink for a second because I could only see the gold. This is a duochrome. I also sometimes put this pink gold duochrome on top of that, and it just like takes it up a notch too. By the way, I love this orange packaging so much. It's so beautiful. Like, orange is my favorite color, so this is very pleasing to my eye, and it's like sleek, and you know, cardboard packaging is my favorite packaging. I don't know why, but I just love cardboard packaging and orange, and it's like very metallic and shiny. I love it. That's it though. I need to get a move on and edit this video because, sorry, my wrist cracked now. This video needs to be uploaded ASAP, and it's like 7 p.m. where I am. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Wish me luck on using all of these palettes, and you know what, happy Valentine's Day. Do a purple look, do a pink look. Yeah, okay. Have a great night or morning. Bye.